So if you're here today and want to learn more about the best sleeping positions and how to sleep and not wake up with pain, you're in the right spot because that's the topic for today. We'll also be going over some sleep hygiene and some strategies to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep as well. Not just sleeping positions, but other strategies you can utilize as well. Then I'll be demonstrating the best positions with regards to if you're a stomach sleeper, if you're a side sleeper, or if you sleep on your back. All right, we'll be touching on those. So I want to start off by saying what a lot of people ask me, what is the best position? Should I be sleeping on my stomach? Should I be sleeping on my side? Should I be sleeping on my back? So the best position to sleep in, you ready for it, is the position that you can sleep in. All right. So a lot of people will get caught up in trying to force a certain sleeping position and they can't even fall asleep. So what good does that do? All right. So first of all, it's the position that you can sleep in is the best position to sleep in. All right. So it doesn't make, if you wake up or if you wake up in the morning and you had a crap night's sleep because you forced sleeping on your back when you're in reality you're a stomach sleeper, that's counterintuitive. It's not ideal. So make sure you sleep in the one that's most comfortable for you. And then we'll be going over ways today that you can make the sleeping. There's a position that's more ideal than the others. Ideally, sleeping on your back is the preferred way, just regards to alignment and ergonomics and stuff. But we'll be going over on how you can make it more. You can make stomach sleeping and side sleeping more, biomechanical and ergonomically correct as well. So we've touched on that. And then I want to also touch on some sleep hygiene, on some strategies that you guys can implement to help you fall asleep. So ideally having like a cooler room where it's between like 65 to 67 degrees, that's ideal temperature. What the research is finding, people have a really hard time falling asleep if it's warm, right? So keeping a cooler temperature. Falling asleep and waking up at the same time is also beneficial as well. We have our circadian rhythm, and that's just our body's way of knowing when it's time to wake up and when it's time to go to bed. And so the more consistency we can get with that, the easier it's going to be to fall asleep. All right. Another thing too is don't work. A lot of people are working from home right now, and a lot of people are also working in their bed, right? We don't want to be doing that because when we want to save, we only want to be sleeping when we hop in bed, right? Because what our brain does is it associates, we can retrain our brain and to help it learn to associate going into bed to fall asleep, right? Rather than going to work. If we just keep programming our brain that, we're hopping in bed to work, like it's hard to shut our brain off, right? So avoid working in your bed, especially since people work from home now. And then also establishing a routine about 45 minutes to an hour before you go to bed. Establish a routine. This can be, some people will have a certain snack about an hour before they go to bed. Same thing over and over again. They will take another strategy is taking a nice warm shower before you go to bed as well. This helps the body relax, helps keep you calm. And then doing these little things it triggers the brain to realize, we've been here before, we've done this, and when we've done this in the past, we usually go to bed in about 45 minutes to an hour. Right? It starts programming the brain to get ready for going to bed, so it's easier to fall asleep. Another thing too is it's also a really stressful time with everything going on with COVID and whatnot, and a lot of people I keep hearing again and again from my patients that they're having such a hard time falling asleep, and it's because their stress levels are off the charts. So one thing that you can do is do a brain dump. What you can do is you can write down on a piece of paper everything that's kind of stressing you out, right? And kind of just do a brain dump. Get that all out of your head. And then what you can do too is right after you do the brain dump, then you need to positively reaffirm your thoughts. And so once you brain dump that, start list like 3 things that you're grateful for, and then 1 or 2 things that you're looking forward to. All right, and that can help kind of just relax everybody and allow you to fall asleep more quickly too. All right. So those are the big ones. All right. Those are what's going to make a big difference to start off with. All right. Any questions on those guys at all? Hopefully that all makes sense. And just, you don't have to, I'm not expecting you guys just to implement all these at once. All right. Just take one of those tips and start implementing that for this week. And then once you got a good routine of doing that one implementation, the next week you start implementing the next one. All right. Don't overwhelm yourself with trying to implement all 4 or 5 of these strategies at once, because it can be overwhelming. Okay. So start with one and kind of go from there. All right. If there's no questions on that, then we'll go ahead and we're going to go over some of the sleeping positions. All right, and how you can, and we're going to be going mainly over how you can optimize like the pillows and make sure that everything's in alignment. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with back sleeping. Okay, and what's going to be most ideal for that? So if I had to choose which one to have my patients sleep, what position to have my patients sleep in, it would be back. All right. One thing that I see done incorrectly a lot is people have their pillows too high. Okay, and so what this does is it kind of cranks our neck. So we're kind of like looking like this. So if I just pause and I kept the same neck position and sit up, this is what position I'm in. We ideally want, the gold standard is we want everything in alignment. We want our spine in the same alignment as if we're sitting in good posture or if we're standing up. Okay, we want everything in alignment. So if I have the pillows too high, what it's going to do is it's going to push my head forward. All right, so usually, like I said, people have the pillows too high. So you want is something that's going to keep your head in alignment, okay? Hopefully you guys can see that. If not, so it's like this. So you guys can see everything's in alignment here, okay? Another thing that's important is to take pressure off the low back. What we can do is we can put pillows underneath our knees, okay? And by doing so, it's going to alleviate some of the low back discomfort. So if you wake up in the morning, you're having quite a bit of pain or tightness in your low back, you start sleeping with pillows underneath your knees. Okay, it helps take that pressure off. All right. If you want to get real fancy, what you can do is you can put like pillows underneath your arms here to provide support. It's not really necessary, but it can make it feel a little bit more comfortable too. All right. So that's back sleeping. Pretty simple, straightforward. Usually the 2 main things that people miss or mess up is sleeping with too high pillows up here, and then also not putting pillows underneath their knees to alleviate that back discomfort, okay? Let's go ahead and we're going to go over side sleeping next. I'm going to also turn this around so you guys can see this a little bit better too, kind of make it at a diagonal. All right. So, a lot of times people complain, especially people that have shoulder pain, that they have a hard time sleeping on that side. So again, the main thing I see wrong that people do incorrectly with this one is they have the pillow again too high. So if I'm sleeping on my right side, like this, okay, and if the pillows are too high, okay, what's going to do is it's going to push my neck up kind of like this. And if I do that same position and maintain it, this is where my neck's at, right? Okay, so I got a elongation of these muscles here and shortening of these muscles. That's going to create imbalances. Can you imagine if I walked around like this all day? I'd have a lot of neck tightness. Same thing if we're sleeping like this for 8 hours a day. People wonder why they wake up with so much tightness, because they got the pillows too high or too low, but typically too high, okay? So make sure that's appropriate there. So let's say I want to sleep on my right side, but I have right shoulder pain. So what you can do for that is, so if I sleep like this and I have my shoulders stacked over top of one another, it's going to put a lot of pressure on that right shoulder, the shoulder that I'm sleeping on. Okay, what you can do is you can put a pillow on your, kind of behind your back, and also behind your hips. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate back on those pillows. Okay, now you guys can see how I'm still sleeping on my side, okay, but I'm rotated back a little bit, okay, and my back's resting on the pillows behind me, and it's supporting me. Another thing you can do too, so you can put a pillow here like this to rest that top arm, okay? So instead of being here, okay, and putting a lot of pressure on that shoulder by placing the pillows behind us. Now we can have some support behind us, and now a little bit more weight is being placed on my backside rather than directly on that shoulder. Okay, let's say I'm having left shoulder pain. Okay, when we have our arms not being supported, we can have some discomfort. So if we put like a pillow here, okay, to provide that support, that can offload that left shoulder. Okay, so that's side sleeping. Any questions on that, guys? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to go to stomach sleeping. All right, a lot of people knock stomach sleeping. All right, I sleep on my stomach. All right, again, I don't force sleep on my back because I can't sleep. I can't sleep if I lay on my back. All right, even though that's the most ergonomically correct, I don't do it because I can't fall asleep. It doesn't do any good. All right, so again, one thing that I can reiterate over and over again is people usually prop their pillows up too high, even when they're sleeping on their stomach, especially when they're sleeping on their stomach. Okay, so let's go ahead and usually, sometimes I don't even use a pillow. Okay, when I sleep on my stomach, you want even more of a thin pillow for sleeping on your stomach than you do on laying on your back and laying on your side. Okay, so the reason for that is, well, let's say I stack these pillows really, really high like this, okay, and I sleep on my stomach like this. Now my head's like all jacked up, okay, it's like forcing my head up, okay, so if I maintain this position, okay, now I've got my head way up here like this, okay, that's essentially what the pillows are putting my position in, or my head in position with, okay, so you could use a very thin pillow, sometimes you could use no pillow at all, right, and so the only bad thing, well, one of the main things with sleeping on your stomach is it makes you have to turn your head like this, okay, when you're laying on your stomach. Okay, so if we can decrease that, that's optimal. So how we can do that is actually placing a pillow or pillows, okay, like this, where we place our arms like this. Okay, and by propping pillows here, these are a little bit thin, but if I have thicker pillows, you can place them here like this. Okay, what that's gonna do is it's gonna pull my shoulders back a little bit. Okay, and so instead of having my neck cranked so much like this, okay, when I'm laying on my stomach, now now my neck's kind of closer to a neutral position. What I mean by that, okay, if I'm sleeping on my side, okay, pretend I'm sleeping on my side like this with no pillows. Okay, this is where my neck's going to be. Okay, if I rotate my shoulders up like this, right, now my head's a little bit closer to neutral. Okay, so placing pillows underneath the hip as well as the shoulder is going to help rotate that up a little bit. Okay, okay, so that's the main tips for sleeping on your side. All right, so all right, there's just minor tweaks with those, okay, but they make a big, big difference. All right, so hopefully that makes sense, guys. Any questions on those at all? Okay, I don't see any questions, which is good. All right, perfect. All right, so we're gonna kind of keep this short and sweet today. All right, that's about all I've got for sleeping positions and hygiene and whatnot too. Main things, if you're having pain with sleeping is super, super important. Let me touch on that a little bit too, is there's new pain science that's coming out in the research, and they're finding that when we don't get enough sleep, so when we sleep, our brain recovers and allows us to think at a higher level the next day, and it kind of repairs itself overnight. Right? If we don't get that sleep, that the brain doesn't repair itself, and it's not able to be as efficient the next day as it normally would be if we get our sleep. And when we're experiencing pain, like if we have an injury, like let's say I have a shoulder pain, right? So there's a signal that goes from the shoulder to the brain, and when that signal gets to the brain, if it's not working as efficiently as it should because you didn't get enough sleep the day before, our brain doesn't know how to process pain as effectively. And so when it doesn't process pain as effectively, it processes as a heightened threat. So it actually makes the pain, the brain's interpreting the pain to be worse than what's actually going on. Okay? So it's super important to be getting your sleep, because if you can't get your sleep, it's just going to actually make that injury and the pain that you're experiencing in that area even worse than what it actually is. Okay? So being able to sleep, this is one of the first things I go over with patients when they come in, especially if they say they're having difficulty sleeping. So it's an uphill battle. We can do all the exercise we want, but if they're not getting their sleep, it's going to be an uphill battle. Okay. Kelly says, sometimes my right hand tingles when I wake up. I sleep on my right side. All right. So Kelly, I would ask you, so if you sleep on your right side, okay, so what's going on there? So if somebody's waking up or has complaints of numbness or tingling in their hands, it's not anything that's super serious. It's just your body's way of telling you that there's something going on there's muscle tightness or poor mobility going on in your upper body. Okay, so it could be a couple different things. It could be nerve, or it could be arterial or blood flow related. Okay, so to give you a little bit of background, so what could be going on is some thoracic outlet syndrome. So it sounds kind of complicated and scary. It's really not that scary or anything, especially if it's just when you're sleeping. But again, it's telling your body's way of telling you there's something going on. So if you're having numbness or tingling, we got to figure out, is it something that's going on with our arterial system, okay, blood flow, or is it the nerve? All right, and a lot of times we see thoracic outlet syndrome with people that have shoulder pain or neck tightness as well. The reason for that is we have nerves and arteries that pass out, okay, down out through our neck, down through our neck, down our kind of like down through our pec. Okay, our pec muscle originates from here and crosses all the way over here. It passes down through that pec, okay, and travels down through our arm all the way down to our hand. Right? And if there is tight tissues, okay, if there's a tight pec, if there's tight neck musculature, we also have our first rib. Okay, our first rib's down, located underneath here. So if you take your collarbone, you'd find your collarbone and come right above that and push down. If there's a bone right there. Okay, that's your first rib. Those arteries and nerves pass through that. So you got to figure out where is that nerve or artery getting pinched down on? Is it the neck? Is it where it exits the neck? Is it the musculature down the neck? Is it the first rib? Is it the pec? Or is it down in through your biceps and through your forearms? A lot of times it's through the pec. All right. And when we're sleeping on our side like this, or sleeping with our arm above our head, that pec muscle is being shortened. And then also, if we're sleeping with our arm overhead, it elongates it, okay, and it can, by elongating it, can press down on those nerves or arteries and cause decreased blood flow, or push down those nerves and cause that numbness and tingling. A lot of times when if people are just having pain or numbness and tingling, when they wake up, a lot of times it's arterial, that just decreased blood flow. Okay, and then kind of when you wake up and shake it out, that blood flow returns. Okay, but again, it's just your body's way of telling you there's imbalances, and if there's imbalances, it can lead to other shoulder injuries in the future and down the road too. So hopefully that answered your question, Kelly. And that's something that's super common, and something we see a lot. Okay, it's totally fixable. It's just got to figure out what's the root issue. Because it could be anywhere down this continuation. Okay, but great question. All right, so hopefully that all makes sense. But yes, sleep is super, super important. Just main thing is don't force feed yourself into sleeping on your back or sleeping in a position that's not comfortable. If you guys make these modifications, all right, and you're finding that it's actually more difficult to fall asleep, just scrap it. Go back to the position that you can sleep in, okay, most comfortably. But if you can get away with doing these more ergonomically correct positions, then by all means, do that. All right.